2017, Chinese police were closing in on the largest Ponzi scheme investigation the country had ever run. The woman at the center of it escaped the way you'd expect a Bond villain to lose her nerve completely. Not a private jet, not a speedboat, a moped, heading for the Myanmar border, with an accomplice driving in several $1 billion in Bitcoin somewhere in the plan. Her name is Zhimin Qian, though for most of the next 7 years she went by a fake one. Between 2014 and 2017, she ran a company in China that recruited investors with promises of huge returns. The operation was so well connected, it held recruitment events inside the Great Hall of the People and got an endorsement from the son-in-law of Chairman Mao himself. Over 128,000 people invested. Many put in their life savings and pensions. In total, she took in roughly £5 billion. When the scheme collapsed and police started closing in, she didn't just run. She converted the stolen money into Bitcoin, fled across Southeast Asia for months, zigzagging through multiple countries, and eventually flew into London on a forged passport under the name Zhang Yadi. And then, for reasons that still don't entirely make sense, she just stayed there for 7 years. Here's where this stops being a normal fraud case and starts being something stranger. Qian didn't hide in a basement, counting Bitcoin. She rented a mansion in Hampstead for around $20,000 a month. She bought jewelry, she stayed in luxury hotels across Europe. She tried to buy a villa in Tuscany. She tried to buy property in London, which is actually the exact move that got her caught. Because trying to launder several $1 billion through British real estate tends to attract exactly the kind of attention you're trying to avoid. When police finally searched her properties, they found something better than evidence. They found her diary. In it, she'd written that she wanted to buy a castle in Sweden. She wanted to acquire an actual British bank. She wanted to befriend a duke. And her real goal, the one she seemed most serious about, was becoming queen of a place called Liberland. Quick tangent, because this deserves one. Liberland is a real self-declared micronation, sitting on a small disputed strip of land between Croatia and Serbia that basically nobody recognizes and almost nobody lives on. Its current self-appointed prime minister is Justin's son, the Tron founder, a man most famous for buying a banana taped to a wall for $6.2 million and then eating it. That is the government Zhimin Qian was apparently trying to join, not overthrow, join, as queen. While she was writing royal fantasy fan fiction about herself, her network back home was doing the actual dirty work. A woman named Jian Wen, a former takeaway worker, helped launder millions of the stolen money through crypto exchanges and shell companies, and was eventually sentenced to 6 years for it. Meanwhile, Qian just kept living like this was permanent. It wasn't. In April 2024, investigators noticed activity on a Bitcoin wallet that had been sitting dormant for years. That one transaction was enough to trace back to her. She was arrested in York. When police finally accessed what she'd actually been sitting on, it came out to 61,000 Bitcoin, the largest cryptocurrency seizure in UK history. At the time of sentencing, worth somewhere north of $6.5 billion. She pleaded guilty in September 2025. In November, she was sentenced to 11 years and 8 months for what the judge described as money laundering on an unprecedented scale. British authorities are now trying to work out how to actually get some of that money back to the 128,000 people in China who lost their savings to her in the first place. So here's what actually happened. A woman ran one of the largest fraud schemes in modern history, funded a 7-year fugitive lifestyle with it, got caught, not by some elite financial crimes unit tracking Bitcoin wallets in real time, but because she tried to buy a house. And the whole time she wasn't planning her exit strategy. She was drafting her coronation. If there's a lesson here, it's not really about cryptocurrency. It's that no amount of stolen money changes how obvious it is when you're trying too hard to look legitimate. Buying a mansion doesn't disguise you. It just makes you a more expensive person to eventually arrest. If this one surprised you as much as it surprised me, hit subscribe.